Hello everyone, welcome to Career Board. I'm Vinod, and we have a couple of questions from folks. A very important question coming to us is a set of questions around one topic which I think is dear to everyone. So Anu, you're the operations manager. Why don't you tell us what the question is and I'll try to give you some answers.
Hi, I'm Anu. I'm working as an operations manager at Career Group. I have a question for you. The question is, do IT companies fire employees after 40 years of age? If so, what are the reasons for that?
Wow, okay, that's a tough question. So basically, the question is, do IT companies fire people above 40 years of age? What are the reasons? And I guess the other question is, what can you do about it? I'll try to answer these questions one by one. So what I'm gonna say is gonna probably be shocking, but it's not an age limit of 40. Every year you spend in a company, your chances of getting fired goes up dramatically.
Okay.
So this may sound surprising to people, but I'll tell you exactly what in a lot of detail I'm going to delve into why that happens. Okay. So your probability of getting fired goes up the more time you spend in the company, and since the time you spend in a company is also correlated with your age, that's why it seems that the rate of firing goes up as you get older. So that's why it looks like it is an age 40 and so on. People can keep arbitrary numbers. The truth is that the more time you spend in a company, the higher your chance of getting fired. And let's now get into details. So let's look at, for example, why would this age 40 be a benchmark? Why is this getting a lot of focus? Typically in every company, what happens is that you get promoted every 3 to 4 years. You begin as a software engineer in the tech industry, work to being a senior software engineer, then you become a lead engineer, a principal engineer, then you could probably be a manager, senior manager and so on. So it takes maybe 5, 6 promotions and that takes 15 to 20 years. And most people by the time they enter the workplace at age 22. And by the time they touch their 40s, it's probably 18 years in the workplace. And most people by the time are definitely in a category like either an architect, either they are a senior manager or they are a director by that age. Or you can again plus or minus 5 years, but typically this is what you see. So it is not that software engineers are getting fired, but by the time age 40, most people may or may not be a software engineer, right? They are probably much senior positions. They are very senior software engineers. Google has a category of software engineers that operate almost everyone, every level. But they are doing the work of a director. They are doing the work of a senior manager. So maybe, a software engineer at Google may be called a software engineer, but doing the work of a senior manager or director, but maybe the late 30s and early 20s. So what this means is that yes, you are in a very different position after a certain time in your career, and yes, the chances of getting fired also increases. The biggest reason being that in every company there is something like a pyramidal structure. So it is not like there is the same number of software engineers as there is the same number of senior managers, as there is the same number of VPs, directors, and so on. No, that's not the way it happens. Probably there's going to be one VP. There's going to be 3 to 3 software engineers. For one VP, you probably have like 1,000 software engineers, right? This is what the ratios come to be. So as you go up in the hierarchy, right, as you get promoted, the pool shrinks, becomes smaller and smaller. What that means is that if you want to have a safe job, you should be at the bottommost position, where there's a lot of projects, there's a lot of need for software engineers, and you always switch jobs from one company to the other. Every company needs hundreds if not thousands of software engineers. You'll always find jobs in every company. The problem is as you get promoted, right, there are lesser and lesser people. For example, there could be one director looking after 100 software engineers. You don't need 100 directors for 100 software engineers, you just need one director. So clearly there's only one position going to be there. So you can see that even if all the 100 software engineers do an equally good job, right, not all of them are going to be promoted. Only a very small segment. Only by the time they reach the 5th promotion, right, being a director, only one person is going to be there, not 100 people. This means that the expectations are also much, much higher on you. You have to make a lot more impact in terms of revenues. And in addition to it, the number of jobs at the level is also much lower. Yeah, you're going to be paid a lot more, but again, the number of jobs are also much lower. So as the pay goes up, you'll also be monitored more closely. you're going to be monitored more closely, yes, your chances of getting fired is also going to be higher. Okay. So that's how I would say that these things work. It's not about IT software engineers getting fired at age 40. It's more of like as you grow up the career hierarchy, you reach a certain position where you are getting paid a lot of money. And there is also job insecurity because you're getting paid very high compensation and the number of jobs are also much lower. So there is a lot more threat to your job as you keep rising in the company. And promotions are not for everyone. Only meant for people who want to embrace more responsibility. Okay? So I would say that is one way of looking at it. People can say that no, there's other way of looking at it. What if you're a software engineer at age 40, age 45? Will that then decrease the chances of getting fired? Because you're not gone to the top, right? You're just maybe more at an entry level job, through your career. Can you then get by without getting fired? I think that's probably the next question students are going to ask, or even employees are going to ask. Okay, there are two problems with this approach. One problem is that in every company you join, they will want you to get promoted every couple of years. You cannot say, I don't want to be promoted, because if you say you don't want to be promoted, it means that there's a lack of ambition, lack of interest, lack of focus. So, saying that you don't want to be promoted is not a good answer. It means there's something which is wrong with you, maybe difficult, because the work managing working with say 99 people who are saying that yes, I want to be promoted. One person says that no, I don't want to be promoted. Obviously, this manager, for right or wrong, they assume there's something wrong with that one person. Now we can debate whether that's a good approach or not, but keeping the debate aside, this is how naturally people come across. Now let's look at the other side of the picture. Assuming that okay, the manager thinks that you're doing a good job and you're always a software engineer, you still have problems by the time you spend 18 years in the industry or 2 decades in the industry, right? What happens is that your compensation is going to be way more than what an entry level software engineer makes. And there's a reason for it, because every company adds something, they do something called annual salary increase or annual compensation increase. What that means is that you'll probably get maybe a 3 to 5% increase every year just by being in the company. Everybody in the company ends up getting that increase. It's called the cost of living allowance. It's called a COLA increase. So they basically look at inflation, they look at a bunch of factors, and the company says that all folks will get paid in the second year, more in the second year compared to the first year. Likewise, it keeps happening every year. So that's why a software engineer, the second year in the company, will make at least 5 to 10% more than an entry-level software engineer, because they've been in the company, they got that 5 to 10% increase, cost of living increase. Now, just think about it, right? If you get a 5% increase every year for maybe 20 years or maybe 15 years, what's going to happen to your compensation? It's going to be very high, right? So, if you are a software engineer who has 15 years of work experience, your compensation is very high at that point of time. It's extremely high. And most companies, what they do is they try to promote you to the next level so that you don't get stuck at that level and the company is paying more and more to get the same talent. That's why I say promotions are important. So, if you're not getting promoted, the company has got a choice. Either for the work you're doing, they keep paying you a lot of money, a lot of money for doing the work, or they can replace you with an entry-level person who can get the job done at maybe 1/10 of the price, or maybe 1/5 of the cost they're paying. So clearly, right, companies will gain by not having people stuck in their position for too long. That's the reason why they definitely look at people who have been around in the company for too long and are getting paid very high, and for a job which doesn't require that amount of expertise. Now, for example, if you have a PhD degree, you're working in a space where nobody understands how that happens, and then you're doing specific research where nobody else can do that research, then yes, you can command a very high compensation, and you will get paid because companies cannot find a replacement. But most jobs are not like that. Most jobs are jobs which anybody can do. You can replace that with a different person. And if you analyze your job and you find that you're getting paid a lot, but then if the job can be done by anybody, then sooner or later you will find that the job will be axed. Somebody else will take over it. So that's the sad nature of the world. So I would say again that don't look at this picture as 40-year-old software engineers losing their jobs. It means that you have to continuously keep learning, relearning, upskilling, keeping stock of your skills every couple of years and ask yourself, am I learning on the job? If you ever reach a situation where you feel that you're stagnant, not learning anything, please move on to a new company and learn skills, because if you stop learning, then the job will not exist for long. Somebody will find out that you are not contributing at the end of the day, and then you won't have a job. So there's a pyramidal structure for companies. Employees also need to keep relearning every year. I would say that the IT industry is strange in the sense that compared to every other sector like manufacturing, right, it has not changed much in the last 20 years. IT sector, you need to embrace a lot more change. So you have to keep learning new skills, new tools, new languages. Like Python was not around 20 years back, but Python is the language of today. What that means is that clearly keep learning, uh, keep doing lifelong education. Don't assume your education is going to stop anywhere. Keep reading lifelong. That's the only way you're going to pick up skills. Okay. And again, if you have high compensation, understand that high compensation is a double-edged sword. It will help you. There's also got short side to it, which is that the job is at higher risk, especially when it comes to economic downturn. And I would say that many big companies, many jobs will undergo an analysis by the compensation teams. Now, I work in HR, I work with compensation. So with highly paid employees, people look at the compensation every quarter, if not every half a year, and they come up with strategies of how to manage compensation. So one very important metric for students, for employees to understand how much value they're adding is, companies share this information in their annual reports, and you can also find it online. But there's something called revenue per employee. Okay, how much revenue the company makes divided the number of employees exist in the company. Okay? Ask yourself, are you close to that amount? I think it's a good way to understand, are you adding value? Okay, if for example you are getting paid a certain compensation, right, and you find that the revenue per employee is actually very low, then if you're not adding value, you could be the next person to get fired. But if the revenue per employee is very high and you're getting paid high compensation, then that's not a problem. But if you're getting paid high compensation, revenue per employee is very low, then you will have a very big problem in your hands very soon. Likewise, if you're getting paid very low, but then if the company is making very high revenue per employee, then that's a situation where the company is not paying you properly. You may have to quit jobs. Likewise, if you're getting paid very low, and if the revenue per employee is also very low, it's a strange situation, right? I mean, they probably pay you fairly, but maybe that if you like the job, then you want to be there, but if you want a higher paying job, you may want to leave. So that's the way you look at revenue per employee and compare it with the existing compensation. But the dangerous sign is if your current compensation is very high and revenue per employee is very low, it's a serious problem. I would also say that there's a lot of macroeconomic uncertainty in the market right now. Like I said, the software industry is always ups and downs. So what happens? There's some years when there's a boom, then there's a bust. 20 years back, there was a bust during the IT crash. 2008, 2010, there was a finance crash. Now there's again a software crash. So life goes in ups and downs. So be patient, invest in the long term, learn the right skill sets, and I think you'll be in a good position. So in terms of what you can do to overcome these problems is that keep learning new things. Look at revenue per employee numbers, look at your compensation, come up with a strategy, switch job, learn new skills. And I think that's the way you proceed in the job in the workplace of today. Okay, folks, hopefully I answered your questions, but do you have any follow-up thoughts?
No, sir. Thank you for answering my question. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Folks, if you have questions, let me know in the comments below. But then like and share the video if you found it interesting. Cheers, everyone.